And let's get into the news. There's two ways to kind of look at what's happening right now. And man, it's wearing. It's very wearing on people. It's wearing on me. I think that it's going to get worse. And I'm sorry that it's going to get worse, but it's going to get worse. People don't see it. The people who do see it are being pushed off to the side, and you'll see what I mean by that in a minute. But the people who are trying to comply their way out of this are hoping that's going to be enough. And I don't think it is going to be enough. And I don't think that there are enough of the people who see what's happening to stop what's happening, right? Refer to my earlier comparison of a freight train, and even if you really want to, even if you see the danger, even if you're screaming and yelling at the people who are standing there in danger, maybe you can't change it. Maybe you can't stop it. Maybe you can't do a damn thing about any of it. Maybe you just have to sit there and watch the horror unfold, right? And man, I feel like that. I do. I feel like that. And I wish I didn't feel like that, but I do. So there's two ways to go about feeling like that. Here's one. Nasty Canastra says, walking away from a 22-year professional career, the pinnacle of which took nearly 17 years to reach, is not a decision to take lightly. The well-being and happiness of my wife and daughter are essential to my own. Therefore, the choice I am forced to make is get the jab. I've said this elsewhere. It's a Hobson's choice, and it's bullshit. And frankly, I'm angry at the overreach of our government and the spinelessness of woke corporations. Now I have to subject myself to a risk I would deem unacceptable if it didn't mean losing my hard-earned job. I will, of course, play this the longest I possibly can, hoping for a stay via union and class action litigation. There are people who would say, well, what good does your job do if you die? I would be among those people, I think. What good does your job do if you're mentally incapable of doing your job? If you're a pilot and you get myocarditis, they're cool with heart issues, right? Pilots, right? They're totally fine with that. Right? Airlines would be like, oh, it's just a little heart issue. No problem. How's your vision? Not quite 20/20? No problem. I love to fly on airplanes like that. Okay, here's the other way to look at this. So I'm sorry, I'm editorializing this. I wanted it to be a clean choice, but I've messed that up. So I apologize. I don't necessarily agree with this track, but people think that this is the right way to go, right? This is people trying to comply their way out of this, right? What about the next jab and the next jab and the next jab and the next jab? Okay, so that's one way to look at it, right? And I think that maybe you haven't covered all your angles. I think that maybe you haven't seen the war that we're in the midst of right now, right? It's an economic war. It's a war against by the government against their own people. And this is not just in Canada. This is in the United States, in the United Kingdom, Australia, most obviously of all, but it's everywhere at this point in time. So it's frustrating. Here's the other way to look at this. Here's the other way. And this is polar opposites. So I'm giving you very extreme examples, right? You may be somewhere else on the spectrum. We're in our late 40s, have decided that we'd rather live in a lean-to in the woods, lose our little farm, all of our assets, than to comply with tyranny. We all have a choice. What is left for our children if we don't stand up now? Our strength is in numbers. Think of our forefathers. So, I mean, there's two kind of diverging things there. We'll run away to the lean-to in the woods and or fight for our country. But again, I don't know that there's enough of us to make a meaningful difference. Here is Mr. Michael, and he says, if you want a marriage license in Oakville, Ontario, you now have to show proof of COVID vaccination. It's all a choice, no coercion, they say. Right, there's the link there if you want to check that. Here is a TikTok video of a woman in Saskatchewan, unvaccinated. And if you're paying attention, you'll see there's a sign on her door that says dirty. Here we go. Maybe. Oh, hold on, I'll cue it up.
And this is the toilet that they said that I have to use, because I have not been vaccinated. And if I don't want to use that toilet right there, then I could be discharged regardless of the fact that I'm in immediate need of medical care, because they refuse to let me use any of the public toilets because I have not been vaccinated. Wow. Nice healthcare. Good job, Milford, Saskatchewan. You're really holding it up against the worst with COVID. Thank you for your help.
So it's a little rolly toilet that doesn't connect to anything, that you'd put a bedpan underneath that. How is that better? Isn't this an aerosolized and like brown or gray water transmitted issue? So like, isn't it better to have the person use the bathroom? A friend of mine in the hotel industry relates some vaccine lunacy. In Ontario, Quality Inns mandate double vax to use the pool. You have to be double vaxxed to use the pool in the Quality Inn in Ontario. This is not mine. I think it's a United States issue, but this is a person from the UHC Healthcare Transplant Center in Connecticut, I think, but I'm not sure. They've got Aurora, Colorado. So that's where this is. It's not me, and it's not it's not Canada, but it is concerning, and I'll tell you why. The transplant team at the University of Colorado Hospital has determined that it is necessary to place you inactive on the waiting list. You will be inactive on the list for non-compliance by not receiving the COVID vaccine. You will have 30 days to begin the vaccination series. If your decision is to refuse the COVID vaccination, you will be removed from the kidney transplant list. You will continue to accrue waiting time, but you will not receive a kidney offer while listed inactive. Once you complete the COVID vaccination series, you will be reactivated on the kidney transplant list pending any other changes in your health condition. If you have questions or concerns, please call me. So there's concerns about that because it's not much of a choice if you're going to die unless you get this kidney, and they're not going to give you the kidney unless you start this process. So take your chances with a shot and get a kidney, or don't take your chances with the shot and definitely die of lacking a kidney. That's a problem, right? And is that a coercive method? Yes. Is that illegal? Yeah, I think so. So that's not so good. Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is in all the news. It's Thanksgiving this weekend. Again, this is going to get worse before it gets better, guys. And I think this weekend is going to be no different. Like being told how to think, says Liberty Maniac, or how the mainstream media writes to you at grade 3 level. Check out the shameless mind control piece. It is a shameless mind control piece. I'll just read you the first paragraph. Unvaccinated relatives, here are the risks around the Thanksgiving table. As Canadians decide what fixings to put on the table this Thanksgiving, many also face a different, more difficult decision whether to invite unvaccinated family members to feast alongside them. With Thanksgiving weekend just days away, experts say choosing not to invite your unvaccinated relatives is the safer, smarter, and more ethical option. Oh, it's very inclusive to do that too, especially while kids can't get the COVID jab. The vaccines are really effective, but they're most effective when you're surrounded by vaccinated people. Your flotation device makes his flotation device work better. My flotation device protects you. What? Cases of people getting wet are going very high this year. If you haven't seen JP's little satire thing, it's pretty good and nails this quite well. The whole idea is just so demoralizing. It's so demoralizing, everyone. It is. It's terrible. Here's Jason Kenney. If you're unvaccinated, don't bother even thinking about Thanksgiving this year. That's basically the message from Jason Kenney. Here we go.
Indoor gatherings last Thanksgiving sparked the second wave of COVID, with cases and hospitalizations surging after millions of Albertans celebrated in close contact with loved ones. We simply cannot afford a repeat scenario. So my message is simple. Please follow the rules that are in place. To be blunt, no indoor social gatherings are permitted outside of a household for people who are unvaccinated. For those who are vaccinated, indoor social gatherings are limited to 2 households for up to 10 people who are age 12 or older. We are also lowering the maximum number of people permitted to participate in outdoor social gatherings from 200 to 20.
So if you're unvaccinated, you can go shopping.
Indoor gatherings last.
You could go shopping at essential stores. And that's it. You can't really go out to to a bar or anything like that. You can't go anywhere else. So you're essentially like, if you're not going to Walmart and you're not going for a daily, exercise around your block, you're not going anywhere, man. So isn't that interesting? And he says, he said last year, Thanksgiving sparked the second wave, and that's a situation we cannot allow. But he was, right? Permit, right? Very interesting use of words. Very interesting that the premier of the province thinks that he has the right to tell people that they can't visit their family. If the vaccine is the exit plan for COVID, how is that working out? It doesn't seem to be working to me. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll show you one tab out of many that says maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I'd love to be wrong. I would love the vaccine to work. I would love for it not to be injuring people at all. I would love for our society to return to a stable society, predictable society, where we can have our commerce and other activities return to normal. I would love I would love that. I would love that. I would be so happy. I would honestly be very, very happy. I think people think that I enjoy like the disaster that I'm reporting on, but I don't enjoy any of this. I don't like what's going on. I think it's really scary. And so I'd be very happy if we returned to normal, but it doesn't look like, and so like I wanted to qualify what a return to normal looks like. It's not just a stopping of the restrictions. It's everything, right? It's everything. Like our society has been broken in a really, really, really visceral way. You can tell just by walking around outside. I was watching, like we're watching Who's the Boss, because there's no good, any modern television is just awful. So we're watching Who's the Boss from the beginning. And it is shocking actually, the difference of the reality in that world and the reality that we currently live. Like I feel like I'm watching a documentary about a place that doesn't exist. Okay. And I'm not talking about Angela and Tony's house. Angela's house. I'm talking about the society they live in, right? I feel like the society that they live in, that was supposed to be a reflection of like 1980s Connecticut, which mirrors pretty well 1980s Guelph, I would say, or at least in my memory. But I did watch Who's the Boss, so. But that world doesn't exist, and that's terribly sad. And in place of that world is this nightmare, right? So I find it hard to accept, and I find it hard to deal with people who are just on the, it happened, get over it, let's get your jab and move on, right? And not me personally, get your jab and move on. I'm just saying like the people who are trying to comply their way out of it. I just can't see. It's not working, right? Complying our way out of it's got us nowhere.